Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today we're going to be taking a look at the deeply symbolic and beautifully painted Star Tarot by Cathy McClelland. Through these 78 cards, you can tap into the cosmic symbols to discover your own path. I was drawn to the Star Tarot after seeing many of the beautiful images online, but it wasn't until I spent a little time reading about the deck and watching some lovely walkthroughs that I was finally moved to purchase it. When this deck came into my life, I'd been on the lookout for a deck with a cosmic feel. There are, of course, several decks that come to mind when we think of cosmic or celestial decks, but this was the first one to really draw me in. Truth be told, this deck stayed on my wish list for quite some time before I finally decided to make my purchase. Although the images are beautiful, there were a couple of cards I wasn't sure about. The Fool and the Magician, just to name a few, so I wasn't sure if I would connect with it. But more than that, it was the production value of this deck that gave me pause. I've seen quite a few videos and I knew that this deck had that super glossy cardstock and the really large borders, and I was a bit concerned about physically being able to comfortably use this deck. I do have to say that those initial concerns have proven to be a challenge, which is something that we'll be getting into here more in just a little bit, but it hasn't deterred me from using this deck at all. Now that I've spent some time working with and getting to know this deck, I do plan on modifying it to hopefully make it easier to use. So keep an eye out for that video on that journey coming very soon. The Star Tarot is a beautifully deep and thoughtful deck that I have come to really cherish and appreciate in my deck collection. So before we get into the particulars of working with this deck, let's take a moment to explore the nuanced universe of the Star Tarot. The Star Tarot is a beautifully painted multicultural deck rooted in the esoteric symbology of the Golden Dawn. You'll find nods to the work of Waite and Smith, as well as Crowley and Harris. But this deck is no clone. Its imagery dives deep into humanity's quest for spiritual evolution, the cycles of nature, and the mysteries of the cosmos. This deeply layered deck provides a rich tapestry of symbols to explore through thoughtful illustrations and intentional rich color. Armed with the deck's detailed guidebook, you can find an entire world of meaning within a single card. The Star Tarot truly is a tool to help you on your path to self-discovery through cosmic symbolism. You will find some of the most recognizable images as well as some of the most ingenious reimaginings of the tarot here in the major arcana. Each card maintains its original name and position from the Golden Dawn tradition, yet is deeply layered with cosmic and cultural influences. The majors begin with the untraditional imagery of the Fool, descending from the stars into the conscious world with a crocodile as the representation of ancient instincts of survival, sits in a pool of subconscious and knowledge. Arcana number 1, the Magician. Number 2, the High Priestess. She sits between her two traditional pillars with the spider's web behind her, representing the veil between the conscious and the subconscious. The beautiful Empress in position 3. Followed by the Emperor. In Arcana 5, we bring together both traditional and non-traditional spiritual faith with the Hierophant as the mediator between your spiritual world and your material world. The gorgeous Lovers in position 6, and a traditional Chariot in 7. Strength appears as card number 8 with a stunning representation of the traditional Lady and the Lion. Number 9 is our beautiful Hermit, and 10 brings us to the Wheel. Justice is in position 11, and card 12 brings us to the Hanged One, suspended upside down by the cosmic spiral of the divine as he sinks into deep meditation and introspection. With card number 13, Death, we get a beautiful representation of rebirth. Card 14 is Temperance, followed by the Devil, the Tower in 16, and the beautiful Star Goddess, who offers a moment of calm as she steps into the sacred spring of truth and healing. We have the Moon and the lovely Sun, followed by Judgment, and finally the World, which symbolizes a completion of new beginnings as we make our journey into the integrated self. The Minor Arcana is represented by Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles. Within each of these suits, we find elemental energies, lunar cycles, cosmic symbols, and geometric influences. Golden Dawn correspondences are blended with Native American designs and New Age vibrations to create a vibrant and deeply nuanced minor arcana. The suit of wands, ignited by the element of fire, represents the spiritual flame of light within your soul, fueling your passions, spirit, and intuition. The suit of cups, flowing along the river of emotion, helps guide you back to spirit through an open and compassionate heart. This airy suit of swords rules the mind and presents the difficult struggle of living, not by ego, but by your true self. The lessons of the earthly pentacles help us to integrate the spiritual inner world with the material outer world. The Court of the Star Tarot is comprised of the traditional knights, queens, and kings, with the pages being presented as princesses and princes. The two princes of the wands and swords represent the masculine aspect of the pages, where the princesses of the cups and pentacles represent the feminine aspect. Together, both the princes and princesses represent the youthfulness of humanity. The knights are on the journey of the soul. Each are on a quest for their unique truths, testing their abilities and skills as they search for discovery. The queens are the compassionate rulers of their suits and the feminine expression of the soul. They hold the heart of their element that fuels their world, seen here in their mandalas, and they tap into the energy of the Empress. The kings are the leaders of their suit and masters of manifestation. They represent the masculine aspects of their suit and share the strong foundational energy of the Emperor. You can also see their emblems for each of their suits reflected on their shields. The Star Tarot is published by Red Feather, an imprint of Schiffer, and features the high-gloss cardstock that has become synonymous with Schiffer decks. It's a good weight cardstock, firm with some flexibility. The deck itself is rather large, measuring 3.5 by 5.25 inches, making it closer to an oracle size. Each card features a number along the top border and a title along the bottom border, both in a lavender font. The imagery is encased within a thick double border, a thin lavender line that separates the image from the star-speckled outer border. The starry background is repeated on the card backs, featuring the spiraled starburst in the center. Although the star is asymmetrical, it does work well for reversals. The cards are a bit large for me to comfortably rifle shuffle, so I generally divide them into a couple different piles for more comfortable shuffling. Once you get them going in these smaller stacks, they do shuffle quite well, and somebody with larger hands might have a little bit of an easier time. You do get a little stickiness due to the heavy gloss on the cardstock, which makes it a little bit challenged to overhand shuffle as the cards do stick together. That, combined with their large size, doesn't make this deck a great one for overhand shuffling if you've got smaller hands like I do. I have really enjoyed working with this deck and have definitely found it well suited for readings attuned to self-discovery and personal growth. It has the feel of a deeply spiritual deck that invites you to really dive into the intricate images and pull out pieces of your soul. This is one of the few decks that I almost always reference the book during readings. I wait for a detail of the image, one little slice of the card, to reach out and speak to me. Then I reference that particular item's meaning within the book. This adds a beautiful new layer to your readings and encourages you to look deep within every card. Due to the exceptional detail and layers of symbolism within each card, I have found this deck better suited for smaller readings. 3 to 5 card readings have worked really well for me. Too many more than that and I get a bit overwhelmed by the detail in each card. Of course, that same attention to detail makes this a perfect deck for one-card readings. When you dive deep into the cards and let the book guide your exploration, you can find a wealth of meanings within a single image. The deck comes in a large magnetic top box with lovely illustrations and ribbon work. The book sits on top, with the cards sitting in the cradle split underneath. This is not my favorite setup for storing my decks because it does make it a bit difficult to get the cards out. You have to sort of do one side and then the other. But it is a beautiful box. The Star Tarot comes with a fantastic guidebook, and if you want to make the most of this deck, I highly recommend giving it a read through. The immense amount of detail and interpretations and meanings alone make this a worthwhile read, but if you really want to dive into the magic of these cards, you'll pay close attention to the notations about each symbol. Even those intimately familiar with the tarot will find a whole new world within the subtleties and details of each image. The Star Tarot has a fun and new age vibe that makes it a joy to work with without being overly woo-woo. The colors are bright and bold, and pulling any card offers a wondrous world to explore. It is one of those decks that makes me happy whenever I look at it. But that bright and fun energy doesn't mean that this deck doesn't know how to be serious. The Star Tarot is a fantastic deck for diving deep into the soul and bringing forth cosmic knowledge and inner messages. After exploring the inner universe of the Star Tarot, what really resonated with me most about this deck was that the images are deeply nuanced and beautifully rendered. The layers and layers of symbolic meaning bring new dimension to each card, and the attention to detail in the guidebook brings something new to each and every reading. The challenges that I have encountered with this deck are primarily due to its production value. The size of the cards makes it difficult to shuffle and requires a lot more room if you want to do larger spreads. Having said that, since the cards are so big, I would have preferred to have them borderless so that the image could have been bigger and we could really dive into the details. The heavy lamination gives the cards a bad glare in direct light, which can detract from your reading, and the stickiness of the deck can cause some issues if you're a fan of overhand shuffling. The Star Tarot is a beautifully rendered tarot deck that dives deep into the exploration of soul through cosmic consciousness, divine messages, and spiritual knowledge. While it follows some of the more traditional associations of the Golden Dawn, it really is a deck to be taken on its own merits. Combined with the guidebook, the Star Tarot is a beautiful and powerful tool for self-discovery and universal connection. Thank you for taking this journey with me through the Star Tarot. I hope that you enjoyed exploring this deck and will join me again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.